Now, a parliamentary inquiry in Australia has been told that the threat from plastic pollution in the oceans has become a, quote, critical problem for global ecosystems and human health. Senators have heard about the damage caused by microscopic pieces of waste that are entering the food chain. Researchers estimate that around 8 million tonnes of plastic end up in our oceans each year. Well, Ben Jones is a marine biologist specialising in aquatic ecology and marine conservation. Ben, it's a pleasure to have you on GMT, but it's not a very pleasurable subject. Just how much of a toxic cocktail are the oceans around Australia?
Well, thank you for having me. It is a huge issue, this plastic problem in our oceans. And in Australia, they've estimated that 35 million tonnes, 35 million pieces of plastic are in the oceans around Australia. And to put that into perspective, that represents just less than 1% of the actual global problem, where 5 trillion pieces of plastic are estimated to be in our oceans.
I mean, it's unsightly and it's horrible, but if it were just bobbing around, in the water and not doing much more than that, it wouldn't necessarily matter that much. But the message seems to be that it's much more dangerous than that.
Yeah, so plastics, they never degrade when they're in the environment. They degrade through a process called photodegradation, which basically means they just break up into tiny pieces, and they exist in the oceans for millennia. And it's these microplastics that are now such a big problem. They've been observed, plankton has been observed eating microplastics, and plankton forms the basis of our global ocean food chains. And that means that now...
So what impact has been observed in different forms of sea life?
Well, there's across the US, for example, 50% of fish actually have plastic in their guts, and the same goes for Indonesia. And that plastic is now in our food system. It's the fish we eat, so it's toxic to us. It's getting in the food that we eat, and nearly 3 billion people depend on fish from the oceans for their protein. And these plastics are toxic, they're getting into our food chains, so it's a real health issue for us.
Well, I appreciate that. Ben, what can be done about it? Anything?
The biggest issue is this sort of discard view that we have on plastics. Look at the arguments that were put forward when the 5p bag charge came in England. People were screaming and moaning about that being a problem. It's just education is what's needed, I think. People won't appreciate the oceans, the marine environment, until they actually understand what it provides for them. And there's a great quote by a Senegalese conservationist who said that we'll only conserve what we love, we'll only love what we understand, and we'll only understand what we're taught. And I think that sums up the whole issue to me.
Yeah.
That education is key to sort of halting the actual production system where we're actually inputting the plastics into our marine environment.
Ben, thank you. The message has come over loud and clear. Thank you very much for joining us on GMT.